Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
So have you ever read my autobiography?
Did you just say you have an autobiography?
Yeah, it's a big hit. Came out at the dawn of the 20th century. Bram Stoker wrote it.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, it's me. I'm a vampire. Ooh, spooky.
Well, I just know you were gonna have something to like actually start off with, and I had to go and look you in the eye with that like that vampire charm, because that's actually one of our like abilities. We can like charm people with our look.
Sir, glamour is a very basic, rudimentary, like...
You know, if I was a Smurf,
magic.
I would be Vanity. And Brainy. Like if they did the fusion dance.
Listen here, Yaskir.
I also want to say that Smurfette is not a hoe. She is not a hoe. Smurfs are born every blue moon and they're found on top of the hill.
So we're just going straight for the irreverent today, right? Like we're just going ballsy.
Speaking of
we're
what,
just going balls deep, pants down, cartwheeling right on into the episode, huh? Listen.
It's your favorite dynamic duo since Two Live Crew, and it's Doc and Ziggy with the flood!
Rising on up and crashing through. Hey guys, how y'all doing? It's your favorite straight man oddball duo
since Abbott and Costello.
And we are here to get your shit in gear for the week, round it out, or, you know, top it off, however you look at it. Probably
you
gonna
hit
do
the
this
ball.
intro again.
So, you hit the ball, right? I field the ball, and I throw it to who? Exactly. Or naturally. So I pick up the ball, and I throw it to naturally. No, you throw it to who? Naturally.
Are you doing who's on first?
Yes.
You're really gonna do who's on first?
We need to learn how to do who's on first.
Do you think any of our listeners would actually get that reference?
Yes. Yes, I do.
He has a lot more faith in you guys than I do. Because it took me a minute to realize what the fuck you was actually doing just now. Like, I'm mad that you have that whole bitch memorized.
I don't have that whole bitch memorized. Are you kidding me?
I was getting ready to say you had that whole bitch memorized.
Bits and pieces.
But don't have a docket for this week. Look at that.
I'm sorry. We had to record late in the week because someone was babysitting 2 or 3 shots and somebody showed him how to turn up a notch.
Excuse me. I was networking. I was networking at a Super Bowl party, just like I went networking on Friday to this art and sneaker event.
Did you get us another awesome, dope interview?
I mean, I'm working on some guest appearances, is all I'm saying.
I might actually give an announcement on an interview that either you and I or I am going to do, and probably for the podcast. I can edit all of this out. But for our card players, and I know there are some of you out there, I am going to get the opportunity to interview Sheldon Menery.
Look, he was nervous about that. He's rubbing his legs and shit.
Like I get the chance.
Big shit.
So,
no man said it's big boy time.
Sheldon Menery, like the #1 magic judge in the world, and one of the 3 official founders.
I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene was.
You can walk away now.
I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene was like head magic witch bitch.
Marjorie the Gathering.
Isn't that why she's always trending with Wizards of the Coast?
Alright, let's not even get started with Wizards of the Coast, because they literally are selling their soul now.
And it's not to Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No, it's to a hedge fund.
Oh. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene an investor in this hedge fund?
No.
I said hedge fund. Oh, man. Okay.
But yes, one of the 3 original members of the Rules Committee for the founding of the format everybody knows as Commander, but the format formerly known as Elder Dragon Highlander.
Commander is probably a way easier name for that format, because Elder Dragon Highlander,
aka EDH.
I don't have to labor the point.
Listen, that's big shit. I can't wait to hear the interview. I don't know currently if I will be a part of this interview or not, because that's a little out of my wheelhouse. But here at The Flood, we like to bring wide scoping, encompassing,
I'm also probably going to be using
hard-hitting journalistic.
Oh, I definitely have some serious questions too. But I'm probably going to be using this interview doubling for something I can use for a paper in college, and if not, just publish myself.
Hey, listen.
Because I'm now a public figure running for public office.
How is that coming, by the way?
I don't know. Let me check and see if anybody else signed up.
While you are checking to see if anybody signed up...
I will say that if in the next 48 hours, if nobody else does and nobody else has, your boy
is an official committee member. Hey, look at that. This week, it's official. Donda's not dropping on any streaming services.
Donda.
Official news.
Donda.
Jay-Z, Meek Mill, Lil Baby, and Michael Rubin have teamed up for a business venture. In NFT news, we got some NFT news for you guys. Battle rap NFTs.
Nobody else is running. No other man is running.
This
Janice Jones Odin, though.
Excuse me, what? What was her name? Their name?
Janice Jones Odin.
That's an official ass fucking name, dog.
That's how you would pronounce that, right?
Are you running against Janice Jones?
No. Remember, I said there has to be 2 men and 2 women on the committee.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. Whew.
But
yeah.
She is from Glen
with
Burnie.
that name.
She is from Glen Burnie.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay. Peep game. We got some more Black excellence news. Assuming Janice is black. It sounds like a black ass name.
Do you know
if you ask me?
The coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, his name is Taylor Jenkins, and a white guy.
Listen, I know a white Tyron. So,
how many white Washingtons do you know?
None that I can think of off the top of my head, but off the top of my head, we got some more Black excellence news. A black woman has become one of the largest production company owners in Atlanta, further cementing the East Coast. We'll get into that a little bit later, but further cementing the East Coast as new Hollywood, as I was saying, or have said on the pod. We also have some Spotify news. We got some movie gossip for you guys this week. We also have a bit more political news other than Ziggy's campaign.
Your boy! Vote for me. I would too.
But before we get into all of that, what you been getting into this week?
So, I believe we're going to call this segment, since, What's Your Obsession sounded really weird.
Yeah, no, I don't like What's Your Obsession, but...
So, what have I been sinking into?
There we go.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Gentlemen, you have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
What have you been singing into this week?
So, I have, like I said, started classes again.
Okay.
And I have... One of my classes
over?
is basically just developing a thesis.
Okay.
It's like the whole class is basically doing all of the process before you turn in a paper. Like, the whole semester basically is just, developing a paper. The thesis was very wide open, so it was nothing I could have written about before, which is why, before I heard that rule, which is why I messaged Sheldon to begin with.
Okay.
Because I wanted to interview him and expand on the paper I did last semester.
Right, but then you found out that you can't expand on any of your previous work. This has to be completely original, brand new concepts, brand new heat,
So,
what did you come up with?
I thought about Castlevania.
When times are hard. When times get tough.
Well, I mean, I showed up to class and we were talking about a thesis. I was just like, oh, okay, I'll be back. I picked up my notebook and a Sharpie and I just started going for a walk. And I scribbled down Castlevania and I'm like, okay, Christianity.
Okay.
Japan. Alright, we're on to something here.
So, vampires, Jesus.
Right there. Stop. There it goes.
Vampires and Jesus?
Like John Draper. There it is.
Okay,
there it is.
Where does Japan come into play?
Right after. Forget the vampires. The Jesus in Japan. The J&J.
So
that's the important part.
So that's the meat of this thesis. That
yes.
Okay, so what is the thesis?
The thesis I've been really wondering about is Japan's presentation of Christianity and the construct of religion is largely critical. And I've been thinking about
critical in what sense?
There's never really much good in presenting a theocratic state at all. There's rarely is Christianity seen as or Christian symbolism is seen as the protagonist,
right.
Or it's done in a very convoluted way, such as the other main example I wanted to look at was Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Where it is basically a Game of Thrones-esque political war story, but the church is the shadow puppet master behind the whole thing.
Right.
And your hero, Ramza, who was my favorite character in the entirety of Final Fantasy, is basically the embodiment of doing the good for the good reason, despite all of the punishment. And if you take it like that, he's a very Christ-like figure, because he's then branded as a heretic by the very same church.
Damn.
Much like Jesus was deemed to be crucified.
Damn, it seems like, it definitely seems like you've been sinking pretty deep into this paper here.
And I thought about possibly why. Like, what in Japan's history and culture would allow that?
Right.
Where largely, like, if you look at European history, we had Rome, which then turned into a Christian theocratic state,
right.
Took over Constantinople. The Crusades were used to justify. When we went to North America and Columbus went to North America and started doing colonialism and genocide and all of that shit, was done largely in the sake of spreading Christianity.
I was gonna say the foundation of Europe is like heavily tied into Christianity, whereas in Japan I believe they even persecuted Christians.
This is
to an extent.
This is the important part about Japan's history that I really honed in onto. Japan was a feudalist state until largely the isolated feudalist state outside of Russia and Korea politics and some China politics. But what was everybody in the West trying to do? Go east. The Silk Road, the trading, right?
Yeah.
It was the
they were trying to come
Orient
from where all they were trying to get to the source of where all these exotic goods and services was coming from, because the Silk Road really it was like Amazon for like the ancient world, right? China was the origin of so many different fruits and spices, or Asia I should say was the origin for so many different fruits and spices and things like that. When the Silk Road finally made its way to Constantinople and Europe and stuff like that, it really fucked Europe's head up, because if you look at the things that are able to be grown and produced in the cold European climate, it pales in comparison to they didn't even have
what's
spices.
in the middle of what is the Silk Road also consisting of? The Middle East. Bloodshed everywhere. It's a history of bloodshed that's caught up in trade, largely driven by Christianity. But Alexander the Great said that he wanted to conquer all the way to the sea. But what's beyond the sea?
That shit
Japan.
wasn't built on Christianity. That shit was built on Genghis Khan and then wanting to make some fucking paper.
When you have this
I feel you though.
Crusades would go. If they could, they would go to the sea. What's
you're
beyond
talking
the sea?
about the Crusades.
Japan.
Yeah.
So you have this state, feudalistic, largely isolated, that didn't really have European contact until the dawn of the industrial ages in the 1800s. So they had no real influence. They were shielded from the influence of Christianity. Does this allow for Japan to be more critical in the perception of the narrative of Jesus and the structure of the church as a whole, and how this narrative is used as a political means?
Well, I think it did have a totally different impact when it initially hit the shores of Japan, because like I said, I believe initially Christians were looked at as like cultists and were persecuted by like the imperialist lords of Japan at the time. Right?
And I think the words that I wrote at the end of this, I think you and I both agreed on, that was really the best way to put this is the narrative of Christ received differently through the Eastern lens of reality?
I think so. Especially like when you look at like anime and like just Japanese or Asian media in general, right? Like they put a lot of emphasis on like personal responsibility and like personal like perseverance, and I think the idea that putting your faith in something like a higher being instead of like within like the power of your own abilities, it was initially like abrasive. But I'm not Japanese, so I will be interested in the research that you do to support the ideas.
This paper is going to consist of Final Fantasy Tactics, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Castlevania, and Hunter x Hunter.
Right, so it's not.
Just give me my A, please.
Yeah, and listen. I'm like, it's not gonna get that deep. We, however,
I always seem to have to email the professor. Can I write more?
We, however, are getting ready to get deep into the flood this week. The show that brings you the pop perspective.
To put the culture in context, like, Jesus Christ, that was a lot of culture to put in context.
And make the mainstream
make sense.
Right after this break.
Oh, you know what another shirt Falcon said we should do? Me and you doing the damn!
First of all, I'm mad that my man was like, I'm mad I still haven't met Dot, and it didn't show up.
Because he was busy. Specifically asks for you, Falcon. We gotta get you on here, even if it's Zoom.
Look.
Even if it's Zoom.
Look. I reached out. You asked. I reached out. You gotta reach
Kellen's
back.
been on here virtually a couple of times.
When he is legally of age, then he can come. Then he can come on the pod.
If you can vote, then you can come on here.
I don't want to do that to him. It's just, I be getting schmizzed, and I'm like, I can't be doing that around a minor. It's wild. Like, I'm a parent. Like,
exactly! You're doing it around minors! But you're like, whoa, those are my kids. That's different.
Yeah. I got that shit under control.
Therapy exists for a reason.
Stop. Try to act like no.
I'm gonna be the perfect parent. What are you talking about? My kids are gonna grow up perfectly happy and healthy. And
I was gonna say, no, they're not gonna have any repressed trauma to deal with at all.
Nope.
No. My God. Why?
Besides, I'm only gonna get them every other weekend.
Speaking of repressed trauma, Donda.
Dad, why aren't you aging at all?
Speaking of repressed trauma, Donda 2 is supposed to drop next week. This week. The week that you're hearing this should have been out. But most of us probably won't get a chance to listen to it. Because Kanye Ye revealed a couple of days ago that it's not going to be available on any streaming services. Not Spotify, not YouTube, not Amazon, not Apple, not even Tidal. As a matter of fact, Kanye is currently trying to back, if not has already backed out of his exclusive Tidal deal. and will only be available on Kanye's stem player, a round MP3 player looking device that I actually started receiving like promo videos for on Instagram since this news dropped a couple of days ago. Like, I have not seen this player at all, which apparently was launched with the original or the first Donda album. So this is a music player device. I don't want to call it an MP3 player, but it's a streaming player that Kanye has launched in partnership with Kano Computing Company. It's shipped with the first Donda album, and the device allows you to manipulate the song through some touch-sensitive sliders. The ad or the promo video that I saw earlier was playing like Michael Jackson, and it allowed you to isolate Michael Jackson's vocals.
It's a Yeezus box.
Sure, that's one way.
It's a Yeezus box.
That's one way to look at it. Kanye said the testing worked well the first time around, so this time around he is offering Donda 2, which everybody has been in fucking anticipation for, only on the $200 device. That's right, you heard me. The device that Kanye is begging you to buy, and I am going to say begging for a reason I'll elaborate on in a minute here.
I just want to let y'all know that we're going to come out a week later and you're going to hear all about this. Just know that we recorded about this before everybody else did.
I mean, at the time of recording, it's a pretty well, talked about subject, because everybody is like, hell no, I'm not paying $200 to listen to one album. This is the equivalent of asking people to pay $200 for your album. Now,
alright, I can't say too much, because I am on record on this podcast as saying I would spend $1,000 to play whatever the new Final Fantasy VII Remake is on. And it looks like I might have to follow through on that with the PS5.
Nipsey Hussle fans will remember that Nipsey sold his original mixtape at like $1,000 a pop for physical copies. So, all I'm saying is you can live your dream, homie. I just will not be taking part in that.
Isn't that like the equivalent of buying like a Super Bowl ticket for music?
I would be willing to put my money on the fact that this album will find its way to streaming services sooner than later. You bet you're right. And I
give it over under a month.
A month? I'll give it 4. We'll be able to listen to the music, but I mean actually like stream it. Like I guess stream it in exclusive aspects. I mean, like it won't be on Spotify, right? Like maybe it'll be on YouTube in under a month, but I think before it's on any other like actual streaming service, probably like 4 months tops. I'll say 4 months tops, right?
So right now I am talking to somebody on Facebook who posted a status. It's really hard to be Kanye West #1 fan still. And I commented and I'm like, you really don't have to be. No. So I'm messaging him right now and I'm like, can you jump on Zoom?
Hey.
What's up, Bradley?
Are you live or no?
Yeah, we're not live.
Not live, but we're recording. The mic is hot.
Okay, I was gonna say, it looks like you were live.
Alright, so Doc, Bradley, Doc. I used to, well, not used to, I just haven't done it in a while. I write for Bradley's blog.
Oh, okay. What kind of blog you run?
The blog is over.
Whatever. I'm sure we can find him at some point, at somewhere, called The Appreciation Enthusiast.
Okay.
And he is self-proclaimed #1 fan of Kanye West for a very long time. And we're talking about this, we're calling it the Yeezus box. The $200 exclusive.
He's calling it the Yeezus box.
I'm calling it the Yeezus box.
Yes, the stem player. Yes. So we were talking about Kanye's stem player and him asking people to pay $200 to listen to Donda 2, and I guess Dan wanted to know how you feel about that.
You're the #1 Kanye fan. Are you buying this stem player?
So I was in a Discord call, still am, and we were talking about this earlier. It's fairly stupid. seeing as if it doesn't logistically make a lot of sense. So
No.
in this situation, right? The album's just come out in like what? In a day?
Yeah,
So, like
2 days,
late
right?
tonight, come out in a day. However, like people already have the stem player from like a few months ago. Like, how there's not no like a firmware update for it. It's like you have to do the file somehow, so it's not like the album's just gonna be not accessible.
So
But
okay,
I would never buy the stem player though.
All right,
Not
so
for that
I just want to ask you, how are you still Kanye West #1 fan if you don't buy this stem player?
Listen, I love the man. He's kind of crazy. He does a lot of like bad things. But at the end of the day, I don't have $200.
that's what I'm saying.
Fair for an
$200 to
album.
listen to one album is mad crazy, right? Like,
It is. Like I'll be honest with you. On the low, I'm probably just gonna download it from some bad site. But like, I'm not gonna.
that's what's your over under on the album leaking?
What do you mean?
Like, how long do you think it'll take before the album is leaked to the internet?
I mean, assuming it comes out on time, I would say less than a day.
Damn, listen.
I'll say the runtime of the album plus an hour.
It's that, I know, I honestly feel it's that heavy. And the crazy thing about the stem player is people will be able to isolate the instrumentals, the vocals. They'll be able to chop this shit up in crazy ways. We won't even know what this album sounds like for real, probably until like a week later.
Whatever they want.
Yeah, but this is what we wanted to call you about. We just, as Kanye West #1 fan, and I just want to ask now, are you no longer his #1 fan?
So listen, we live in a world where everyone has to be someone else's #1 fan. So I guess I'll I do the work.
You're still gonna stand with it, right? This is all,
like, look, they got the flag.
this is
Hey,
almost
it was
as
a
bad
Secret
as the
Santa
Wu-Tang
gift
album.
from my friend group. I don't know who bought it for me, but I have it, so I hung it up.
That's crazy. Listen, well, thank you for tuning in with us, man.
All right, Bradley, appreciate you. And remember, Appreciation
guys.
Enthusiast, you can find him somewhere.
It's on YouTube, or my Twitch is called Ragermeisters with a Z. I'm there whenever I can.
Bet. All right, thanks, Bradley.
Take care, guys.
Take it easy.
See, I just wanted Kanye West #1 fan who happens to be a white guy.
Wow. So, speaking of Kanye,
That was all.
have you watched any of the Genius documentary on
I
Netflix
have not.
yet?
Why don't
No?
you just pronounce it the way that it's spelled? Genius. Come on now. Name one genius who can't spell.
Phonetically speaking, the Genius documentary, it's being released episodically, I believe is the word for that on Netflix. So it's like week by week there's like new parts.
Oh, really? I'm
Or-
surprised they didn't release it episodically on Quibi.
Or on the stem player.
On the title DLC.
If you've checked that out,
Jay-Z would never.
tweet us at the Flood Pod and let us know how you tweet us at the Flood Pod and let us know if you've enjoyed it and if we should check it out.
You can email us thefloodpod@gmail.com as well for
Oh.
your extended takes.
Right, because we do have an email.
And it was worth noting because as I was listening to the I Am Nerd podcast, shout out, Fraser and Kenny, I wrote them as they put it, monstrous email. And they got some good content out of it, and they really enjoyed it, so I'm sure we would do the same if any of y'all wanted to email us with something that you wanted to talk about, react to.
I feel like the term monstrous email is loaded and you're just trying to bait me into asking you what was in this email that you sent them?
Well, no, I mean, like, a lot of it was things we either talked about or would, to be honest, considering they're all put in, like, card game jargon, that it would be, like, way too long for me to, like, break it down to you. And that's not me, like, talking down to you. That's just, like, me saying,
Well, I mean, I don't
you don't
play
have the
card
spirit
games.
of knowledge, so it would be, like...
I was gonna say, I don't play card games, so it's not talking down to me.
And then the other part, another part that I sent would be, another part was like, you not putting enough respect on Final Fantasy Tactics name. Already did that this episode. And then the other one, like, part that I sent would be DBZ versus MCU, which we've done an entire episode on.
Right. So there's no need to hash it over. Charlemagne the God doesn't think there's any need to hash over whether or not Kanye is a genius or dysfunctional. He's actually tired of people promoting Kanye's dysfunction. Recently saying Kanye is the epitome of just because someone does something good for you doesn't mean they're good for you.
Woo!
Charlemagne, during
Sounds like something J. Cole would say to end a verse.
recent segment of the Rumor Report, said, like I've said before, in regards to the streets, he's gonna learn that the wolves don't make great house pets. He needs to stop playing like that. And also, Kim K has been rich her entire life. She's been rich since she was born, right? Now she's wealthy. What do you give the woman who has everything? Normalcy. That's what Pete Davidson is doing. He's giving her normalcy. And the radio host also went on to say things like, you know, Kanye is just annoying her right now, trying to get her attention and stuff like that.
Also, if you follow the rumors, Pete Davidson's giving her a lot more than normalcy.
Listen, I wasn't going to get into any of that salacious gossip, but I will tell you that after recently reactivating his Instagram account, Pete Davidson was soon followed by none other than Kanye West. So the harassment continues.
Because Drake would never.
And I'm with Charlemagne on this one, right?
I am with Charlemagne on this one too.
I look to, as most of us being Kanye fans do, try to justify the crazy the same way the documentary is trying to and I know, as Dave Chappelle said, we should never call people crazy. Crazy is an ableist term. Shout out to Deez Zamero. But
Chappelle will come up later.
Dude, all of this, right? Even if it is just regular Kanye antics ahead of his album promotion, it seems like it might be time to stop feeding the God, I don't want to call it a beast, right? Because that feels a bit overreaching, but goddamn, dude, the way this man is just on Twitter,
pour gas on a fire.
Yeah, it's definitely maybe it's time to stop gaslighting the crazy, right? I have to side with Charlemagne on this one and be yo, admonish.
Is he on his Lexapro? Kanye admitted he was on Lexapro.
No.
In St. Pablo.
That nigga is not on Lexapro. That nigga's on Perico. Get the fuck out of here. What do you mean? It's clear. Him and, what the fuck is her name? Julia Fox, right? Him and Julia Fox was fucking hanging out with Madonna. What do you think Madonna do? Just practice Cabal and ski lines all fucking day, son. Did you see the way they were laid up at their fucking, whatever fucking party it was that they were the video was floating around of them at, just all on their fucking couch? It was him, Madonna, Julia Fox. I think fucking Tyler the Creator was there. I don't know. All I know is,
God, that sounds like a party with the Obamas.
Dude, all I know, no, the Obamas wouldn't have been anywhere near this fucking degenerate ass looking
And Barack
party.
would never.
It's crazy, son. Kanye, I'm not paying $200 to listen to Donda 2. Just like I wasn't bidding for the Wu-Tang Clan album. Rolling right on through it, the late XXXTentacion recently surpassed Drake for the most streamed hip-hop album in Spotify history.
And Drake would never.
Drake's album Scorpion was sitting at a 7.5 billion streams recently, and XXXTentacion's album was sitting at a 6.9 billion streams. The album, let me start over. Drake's album Scorpion was sitting at the top currently, or was, god damn it. Drake's album Scorpion was sitting at the top with 7.5 billion streams, right? And
That's a was.
Was. Because whereas XXX albums was sitting, god damn it. One more time. XXX album was sitting at 6.9 billion streams, but recently leapfrogged over Drake's to a point. Fucking cocksucker. God damn it.
But
gonna let me
according
do
to
this,
Chartmasters,
no,
has since
because
jumped
it
to
serves-
7. Don't forget to breathe. You got this. You got this.
Hey guys, Drake was sitting at the top of the crown with 7.5 billion streams on the album Scorpion, but XXXTentacion recently jumped from his 6.9 billion streams on the Questions album to 7.8 billion streams, right? Making him the most streamed album in hip-hop album in Spotify history, right? Both of them are still paling in comparison to Ed Sheeran, who is sitting at 11.5 billion streams for which album? It doesn't
Shout out to the Ginger delegation.
I don't know how I feel about Ed Sheeran being the most streamed artist in Spotify history.
Yeah, not a fan.
Not at all, dude. But I also don't know how to feel about XXXTentacion jumping past Drake, right? I don't know if that says something about Zoomers or...
The dead factor?
You think it's the Da Vinci Tupac thing? Like...
Look, I think Nirvana's 4th album would have been bad.
Fire up the backwood. Put the bitch time out, she ain't that good.
Wow, so you're saying that because it is the... So you're saying the lack of material here may be the reason why this album has been streamed so much?
Oh, you're a fan of Biggie? Name 3 of his albums.
I didn't want to go there, but I do feel like there is a reason for that, right? Like, if Scorpion was Drake's only album, would XXXTentacion have passed?
No.
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 So, I don't know if this actually means anything, but, I mean, as far as numbers go...
Does Rehab still get played as often if Amy Winehouse didn't die? Do the Doors matter if Jim Morrison doesn't die? Is Jimi Hendrix considered the greatest guitar player of all time if he doesn't die?
As the Hip Hop DX article pointed out, though, this is a bit of tasteful irony coming full circle, because I don't know if you remember when X was alive, him and Drake were kind of beefing because Drake allegedly plagiarized a flow that XXXTentacion
Because
used.
come up with, Drake could never.
Are you a fan of XXXTentacion?
No.
No, not at all. Have you ever heard any of his music? Listened to any of his albums?
Nah.
No? So, that's one thing Drake could do, because at least you listen to some Drake. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not a huge Drake fan. I mean, like, You Only Live Twice is fire, but I skip after Rick Ross's verse.
Whew. Listen,
Admit it, you do too.
in more hip-hop news, Cardi B and Candace Owens have been getting into it on Twitter lately. Recently, Candace Owens was on a...
Top bitch versus some bitch.
That was cute. I think Cardi would appreciate that.
I'm sure Cardi would appreciate that.
What did you say again? Top bitch versus
Top bitch versus some bitch.
Top bitch versus some bitch. Yeah, no. That sounds like some shit Cardi would say.
Oh, the Queen tests positive for COVID. You know what that means? We just are able to extract her blood and then come up with an actual vaccine.
Don't cut in for that yet. I mean, all I was doing was looking for the article you didn't have to pick up.
I'm gonna write down extract her blood, and I will know what it means. This is how I take notes.
That's fine.
I do it for college too.
It's perfectly fine to do that. Isn't it? Anyway, so in more hip hop news, Cardi B and Candace Owens were getting into it. Yeah. So recently, Candace Owens went on the Full Send podcast and was discussing with the host and some of the co-hosts on the pod her scuffles or her Twitter beefs with Cardi B, saying things like it's incredible how uneducated she is. She just got embarrassed on Twitter, saying things like, I wasn't even trying to be rude. I was just like, she literally doesn't even know what country she's in or how the country works, right?
So she's calling out Cardi B, she's like, fight me, URL.
No, okay, so I was gonna say Candace Owens was being the typical, like, smug, like, high-educated, like, kind of stereotype that the Republicans love, right? Like, they love the minorities who act holier than thou when, you know, compared to the, like, their peers, right? The co-host actually asked Candace Owens if she would fight Cardi B after they asked her to pick between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, who, I don't know if you remember, but Nicki actually, like, Cardi ran up on Nicki at, like, the Met Gala, I want to say, and threw a shoe as well as some hands.
Alright, I'm gonna say it. That's cap.
I'm on right now. I don't believe you.
No, not the Candace saying that she would fight.
Oh, you're calling Candace?
Candace?
Oh yeah, no, Candace.
That's cap.
Candace is not going to fight Cardi B, son.
That's cap.
We all know that is cap. We all know that you was just showing out for them people, because I don't know if the host of the Full Send podcast are anybody of color, right? Like, I didn't look that heavy into it. I do know that Cardi responded by saying, what's embarrassing is she tried to get her lawyers to make me do a public apology after she'd been attacking me for months. And they tried to make me pay $75K in a month or threatened to sue me with no case. Like, how smart are you? Do you even know the law? Like, now, in America, you
now
can
let's
sue
remember,
anybody.
Cardi is now the head of not public relations with Playboy.
It is like PR or like creative development.
Yeah, the creative development leader at Playboy now.
Playboy, right? But here in America, you can sue anybody for anything, and you don't really need a case at all. So that point is kind of irrelevant. But I totally believe that Candace Owens tried to embezzle 75 fucking K out of Cardi B because she thought she was dumb enough to fucking fall for it.
Yep.
Right?
I'm sure.
I get that Cardi is loud and ghetto and goofy, but I would like to, you know, when I read this article, and
she may be ghetto and loud and goofy, but you know what Cardi still has? A platform and a bank account.
Nigga, it made me think about the different types of intelligence, right? And I hate the stereotype that loud, ghetto, goofy people can't also be smart, right? Like, just because Cardi is not afraid to express her personality in ways that most of us would find abrasive doesn't mean that this woman also can't fucking, like, I don't know, hold her own ground.
She has to be smart to be able to get to the top with that same personality.
To hold her own ground in an actual fucking conversation. Like, right? I'm not calling her, like, Jane Austen or any fucking thing like that. But what I am saying is that
You're saying she's not boring.
The idea that somebody from her background or somebody who expresses themselves that way like can't be intelligent is as played as fucking Candace Owens, like Republican Trump, right? Like, she tried to, you know, make fun of the fact that Cardi B has like all kinds of spelling mistakes in her tweets and stuff like that, and part of me felt like that's just her not understanding how Twitter works. Like, you know, when you've got how many characters?
280
or less. You gotta make your death threats concise. You know what I mean? So Candace,
good luck killing a vampire, motherfucker.
Unless you really want the smoke, I would slow down with how you are approaching this whole Cardi B situation, because she has proven to really slide when it comes to it. And listen, I'm just at this
I don't want smoke with Cardi B.
At this point, I'm just waiting for the footage to drop, right? Like, I'm waiting for the TMZ. With Cardi gonna catch this bitch somewhere.
Yep.
And some of it is gonna happen, and Candace gonna have to.
Candace gonna find herself lost of the Capitol, end up on U Street.
Candace gonna have to answer for the slick shit she was saying on that couch at the Full Send podcast.
What happens to Candace if she finds herself lost on U Street on a Friday night?
I'm sure Candace would think she was fine out there on U Street. I mean, there are fucking like black Republicans in DC and shit like that. My whole point is like, why go on this podcast? Like, they're just so messy, right? Like the GOP and them are just so like they in the under the guise of like being anti-PC, anti-like woke culture. They're just going out there and saying like inflammatory shit for no reason, right?
They're
Like,
also anti-communist and simping to Putin.
I mean, I don't know if that really has anything to do with Candace Owens and Cardi B, but it's still like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why put yourself in the predicament to have to accidentally scrape your face off the floor? Like,
I just thought of something.
isn't this the same woman who told, God, who did she tell that she would dog? Didn't she tell Tommy Lawrence she would dog walk her? You know? Like, listen, don't get dog walked, Candace. Out here talking with your chest out. Speaking of talking with your chest out, why don't you just say what you wrote down just now?
So, when I had a light bulb moment about Western and Eastern interaction when it comes to my paper.
Oh God, over here thinking about your paper once again while we were recording the podcast. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, you said
So-
something really poignant that I can draw on.
What was the light bulb moment?
Western interaction with Eastern influences. Well, I mean, if it was only since the 1800s, and then we fucking bombed them.
Speaking of dropping a bomb, Canada's trucker protest is still going on.
There's relevance to that transition, everybody. Just
No,
wait.
goddamn, you spoiled the surprise, you bitch. Canada's trucker protest is still going on. And, you know, something I didn't think about beforehand that a lot of people have been talking about on the internet lately, shout out to the internet, is the fact that the same people who are supporting Canada's trucker blockade were also very vehemently against the Black Lives Matter roadblock protest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, the whole, God, it wasn't Charlottesville where Heather Heyer was.
Yeah, it was Charlottesville.
Was it? Yeah, you know, Charlottesville where Heather Heyer was mowed down by a white supremacist. A lot of these protesters at these Canadian rallies aren't even truckers. They're not even really Canadian. A lot of the money coming...
They're crisis actors!
Oh my god. A lot of the money coming in for like the funding and stuff isn't even coming from Canada, right? 90%, it's something like 90% of Canada's actual trucker union
Is
workers
vaccinated.
is vaccinated. And they support vaccination efforts and the, you know, vaccination checks at the border. So this whole grassroots movement, air quotes for the listeners, if you couldn't tell by the sarcasm in my voice, isn't really grassroots, right? It's kind of astroturf by, you guessed it,
The GOP?
well, trumpets, right?
Trumpets. Maggots.
Maggots. They're out there trying to make it seem like Canada has this bustling, like, anti-COVID movement, right? And now, you know, they're making a big deal out of Justin Trudeau calling the national emergency, and they're saying it's like, you know, a dictator exerting his power.
Hashtag blackface Hitler.
Yeah.
I watched that video and it was like it was so very clear and concise in what he was going to do. And I'm like,
yeah, it's not like here in America where our president comes out and rambles for like 15 minutes and you're still not sure.
and somewhere along in there smashes in martial law.
I was gonna say, yeah, and I was gonna say, and you're still not sure whether he's beginning or ending the conversation, right?
Next
Joe,
thing you know, you're buying a gallon of bleach.
I was talking about Joe, right? Old man Steve Rogers.
I mean, it could apply to the last 8 years.
Just
Like,
rambling a fucking way.
I haven't heard about coherent presidency since like the first half of Obama's second term.
Listen, I'm not gonna talk about ageism, right? Because I wanted Bernie Sanders as president. But
AKA benevolent Rick Sanchez.
But I feel like it really says something, like the amount of like ignorance put towards like the hypocrisy of the GOP and like the conservative anti-COVID movement supporting this trucker blockade when they were so against the Black Lives Matter movement, using that as a form of protest.
And you know what's really, really sad? We've clearly just discovered how to completely eradicate COVID. Because apparently the Queen of England contracted COVID. And we all know she's immortal.
So
clearly we just extract her blood and make a true vaccine out of the Queen of England. And then we just, wire a bunch of IVs and shit to the throne and have her sit there like the Emperor from fucking Warhammer 40k, and he's like all powerful, she's all powerful, but really she's just like sitting there absorbing like human souls.
This nigga said the Emperor from Warhammer 40k, like...
He's like the most powerful being in the universe, but doesn't actually move, and he can like blow up planets with his mind.
I'm just geeking because I'm like, that is a reference that maybe like 5% of our listeners are gonna actually get.
I will say that there is a non-zero chance it's more than 5% because of like my friend group.
I will give you 15%.
Shout out to Patrick. I don't know if Patrick listens.
Shout out to the 15% of y'all that got that reference.
But clearly, we just make a true vaccine out of the blood of the Queen of England, because like I said, we know she's never gonna fucking die.
Yeah, no, so the Queen has COVID. Do you think she's
gonna be fine!
You think she's gonna be fine?
Dude, she's Elizabeth II. You
didn't
know who
read
the first Elizabeth was referred to? Elizabeth the Great. And she took crown in the 1800s!
Dog. I mean, I didn't read the entire article to see
Just
whether
let that
or not
sink in! She's never going to die!
She's never going to die.
Unlike Princess Di! We saw that one coming. It was in the name.
Wow. The irreverent episode. She's been put on light duties, according to Buckingham Palace in a statement on Sunday.
What does light duties mean? What does the Queen actually do anymore? She's 95! She's like basically a bookend, like, at this point, right?
I saw an article recently.
She's a biological bookend. She's a B&B.
I saw an article recently that said that the crown actually doesn't have the authority to take away, Prince William's, patronage or whatever. Not his patronage. His royal placement. Right? Like, I guess that's something that has to be decided by the community or the committee.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Prince William has been, like, crossing his fingers and hoping for, like, 20 years at this point.
Like, that's the one who was, this I don't sweat guy, right?
But dude, she's 95. She's never gonna fucking die. She still wears her white gloves, wave hands.
Anything to throw in the Lupe reference, right?
Wow, I didn't even do the full bars and you got that.
Of course I was gonna.
I love that. That's a fucking co-host right there, everybody.
Because you love Lupe.
So do you!
Duh, but that's not my point.
You mean you're on record, you think the two greatest MCs alive are Lupe and Royce?
Yes, I am on record stating that. I am also now on record saying that I think it's time for...
Bang!
Fuck it, I'm 40.
It's fucking Fucking I'm 40 podcast with Tracy Kreider and Kelly Bell. We're two sisters just one day decided to pick up a mic and start talking about shit. And we think we're fucking funny. And so far, we found out 25 other people do as well. Excellent. So wherever you get your podcast on, come out and find us. We're a good time. Our only rule is don't be a dick.
You take a sound, any sound, record it, and then change its nature by a multiplicity of operations. You record it at different speeds, you play it backwards, you add it to itself over and over again. You adjust filters, echoes, acoustic qualities, you combine segments of magnetic tape. By these means and many others, you can create sounds which no one has ever heard before.
I love an earnest soul, whose mighty joy and sorrow are not drowned in a bowl and brought to life tomorrow.
Prince Andrew.
That lives one tragedy and not 70.
It was
Our conscious was
Prince
keep warping,
Andrew.
laughing, not
So you
weeping.
just
Our
gonna
conscious
talk
wise
over me?
and steady
Nope.
and forever
Nope.
ready.
Nope. Here we go. Are we ready? It was Prince Andrew. It was Prince Andrew who I was talking about, not Prince William.
You really cut me off on some fucking classic literature. He was spitting bars, yo. Bars! Henry D. Thoreau. An inspiration for all.
It wasn't too inspiring. You had to Google that shit.
Fuck you. Not like I memorized it. To be or not to be? That is the question.
Palms
'Tis
are
nobler
sweaty.
in the mind to bear the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against them.
He's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs, but he keeps on
How
forgetting.
dare you use the modern Shakespeare against my classic Shakespeare?
I just used some actual inspirational shit.
To die, to sleep, to live no more. To die, alas, to sleep, to dream.
The irreverent episode, everybody.
That's fucking culture and context, yo. What are you talking about?
Speaking of having to explain their perspectives, pro Tekken player Tanukana recently had to answer for some statements that she made during a live stream where she was giving a retelling of a story that happened to her, right? Where she ordered some Uber Eats and the driver, upon delivery, asked for her number.
Oh, so he pulled up like Kobe.
Pulled
up with Kobe, then pulled up like Kobe.
But according to Tanukana, the problem with the whole incident was, I guess the Uber driver was under 165 centimeters, which is like 5'5", right? Like 5 feet. And during the live stream, she made a reference to, I guess, what is known as
Against the vertically challenged?
No, like, so
I don't understand this and be like the whole prejudice
so
against
first
short
of
guys.
all,
I don't
you
understand.
can't say anything
because I am a giant.
You're 6'5", right?
Yes, I am a giant. I think if this guy is 5'5", I am a literal foot taller than him. He probably comes up to my chest.
A lot of people were trying to defend her, saying that she was making reference to something that, like, it's like a slang term they use for, like, the gameplay. So, like, you guys, like, you TFT nerds have your, like, jargon that you use for certain things.
You see what's actually really funny about me in online games? Is I write like I normally write. So, like, in chat, like, I'll occasionally, like, it has happened before where I'll be in the middle of typing, and in the middle of typing, somebody comes and kills me. Or I'll have my text box open, and I forget to actually close it, and it will just have, like, a million cues of me trying to use my ability or something like that.
So, in the stream...
So, I don't understand, but people are probably going cack, cack, cack.
So, in the stream, she said, I don't have what'd she say? God damn it. 165 is too small. If you're not 170 centimeters, you don't have any human rights. So please live your life thinking I don't have any human rights. You should consider bone lengthening surgery.
Okay, alright, I will say
this is
I'm really
laughing.
bad.
I'm
But
laughing because
this is also the type of thing that people would take out of context from our podcast.
I'm laughing because I feel
This
like
is clearly her joking.
this is no, like, innocence, right? Like, this is no different than, like, the dudes on, fucking Xbox game chats telling fat bitches that they're ugly and that they should kill themselves, right? Which is essentially what she did, right? So she has been dropped from her team, the Cyclops athlete team, the professional esports league.
They wouldn't survive in Call of Duty Modern Warfare chat at all.
I don't know, dude. Like, I feel indifferent about this, right? I grew up with, like, rough gaming, like, culture, and I grew up in, like, the Halo chats and the OG
Rampant
Call of
homophobia and
Duty
racism.
chats.
Just, like, everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Against everyone.
For no reason. That doesn't
Like,
make
if you happen to be a white guy, then they just switch to the gay jokes. Like,
it doesn't make it okay, though. And a lot of her viewers, like, chimed in and thought it was weird that she would even say some shit like that, considering, like, the average height in Japan for men is, like, 5'6". So,
that's probably because of limited exposure to the West.
So, no, she got dropped from her esports league, and I just thought it was wild to see this kind of, like, pressure put on a female gamer when I feel like male gamers kind of, like, in her defense, not to jump, like, too, like, head first into defending her, right? But I feel like male streamers get away with saying a lot worse, dude.
I'm saying a bunch of Smash streamers have gone back to streaming and etc.
After being, like, child predators, right? Like, let's talk about it, right? We don't have any sponsors yet. We can talk about that shit.
I mean, you have a homophobic baby.
But my homophobic baby, never mind. I was about to make a very inappropriate joke.
There goes our NPR sponsorship.
Right out the window. Right out.
Instead of saying something offensive, just say something offensive.
I was about to say something offensive, and I'm just gonna cut it off there. You can imagine yourselves what kind of offensive joke would have been.
Spoiler alert to the future stand-up bit we're writing. We really should do stand-up Who's on First, but, like, modernize the Who's on First.
Do you feel
we
like
can totally do that?
She is being made an example of because she is a female streamer?
I mean, isn't this kind of just some Gamergate shit?
So, okay, but let's talk about that for a minute. Like, do you think that so she's not just guilty of saying that short dudes don't deserve rights, right? She's also guilty of telling, like, viewers to, like, go kill themselves and, like, saying shit like short dudes should go kill themselves. She
just sounds like a fucking
She said
Gen
some
Z.
fairly racist shit too about, like, black people and some.
This just sounds like old Xbox chat.
Yeah, right. So it's edgelord shit, right? So with that being said, her being kicked, it just makes me wonder how heavily they're monitoring everybody else's streams, right? Or is this just being? Is she being made an example of?
I mean, at this
because
point,
her viewers made noise.
We've moved beyond Xbox 360 chat.
Right.
So, to me, I totally get this in context, like, oh, she's clearly joking, blah, 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 blah. But Xbox 360 chat is not really a thing that happens anymore for a reason. Like, I get it, I was there, but that's not something that we readily see anymore, is that kind of Xbox 360 chat.
But it's still clearly out there, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is a professional, athlete.
Like, am I gonna, like, super hold it against her? No. Should she do it? No.
I mean,
I would just be like, look, just go on Twitch, stream it, and be like, sorry, I was playing some Cod-Mod 2.
So,
like,
she's made 2 apologies already, right? But that still didn't stop her from getting dropped from her esports team. It just, it feels very Joe Rogan-esque, right? Like, she said some edgy shit because being an edgelord is in right now. Like I said, we live in the era of shot. Like, it's such a obvious pushback from the PC culture shit, right? In the cancel culture wars. Like, now people are just being obtuse and, like, willingly...
contrarian for the sake of contrarian.
Like, yeah, no, absolutely.
And stop doing that. That's been my thing for so long.
As you can tell by this episode. It is...
You all are making me mainstream. It's not cool.
It's interesting to me, though, to see her be, like, hung out to dry like that. When I'm pretty sure... I mean, I'm trying to follow esports a little bit more because it seems like an untapped market and it's making waves. And that's what these kids are. I mean, streaming it, look at Twitch, YouTube gaming, like, it's real. Like, it's not going anywhere. And when you have streamers like her who rack in so many viewers and stuff like that, their influence matters, Joe Rogan.
Their influence matters, Doc.
I feel like...
we will start a revolution.
And
the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live.
I feel like her getting punished for this, though, is as wild as Susan Wojcicki advocating for the government to pass, some kind of free speech ban or, like, limiting free speech because she claims that's the only way YouTube will be able to actually, like, enforce a free speech ban.
No. Fuck that.
So...
sorry.
She, I believe, is specifically referencing, like, COVID misinformation and saying things like, if the government put some kind of restriction or regulation in place to...
I mean, like, I'm fine with the disclaimer stuff that they've been doing.
Right. So, to, like, kind of, like, reel in all the misinformation and the impact that it has, right? I feel like what she's trying to do is avoid what Spotify is currently going through, right?
I'm thinking, like, everything that goes on in the world is subject to be a subject of comedy, right? I don't want, like, clearly, like, COVID parody or jokes to be filtered out of free speech. It should be done as, like, the disclaimer.
I don't feel like that's the issue, right? I feel like that's the stuff that is getting marked, right? But then you have the misinformation, like the people who are claiming, some people will say that YouTube overcorrected on the Inframictum thing because anybody who mentioned it got flagged. But, like, that all happened as a reaction to the, like, just insane amount of people coming online and making videos about this and about that and about, like, just how drinking fucking bleach, right? Like they were saying, drinking pee, right? Drinking your own pee is a cure for COVID, right? And those people are still allowed to post their videos because, I don't know, I guess we're all supposed to understand that drinking your own pee is not a cure for anything, but the issue is that people don't, right? And QAnon is a thing despite how absurd it seems, right?
You see, what it is it's actually a proxy campaign run by PepsiCo underneath to spur people to drink Mountain Dew after the sensation of drinking their own pee is so vile. But they need to drink something, and they are still enraptured by the fact that they just drank pee, so they find something that's similar in color, and they find the nearest convenience store to which they buy Mountain Dew, and then they drink the Mountain Dew, and they go home and immediately boot up Halo.
All that to just tell us how your Tuesday afternoon goes, huh? Speaking of QAnon, Researchers believe that they have narrowed in on the possible originators of the QAnon post through machine learning software that computer scientists have used to, what they say, unmask the identity.
We're like 3 years ahead of the Netflix movie on this. No, because if we go by the Tinder Swindler timeline, we're finding about the headline. We're reading the articles about them doing the investigation, which means probably in about 6 months, we're going to get the premiere article, and then that's going to start to go viral, and then it'll take about 1.5 years for the Netflix thing to come out. So I'm going to call it right now, that this is going to be a Netflix movie.
In a report posted in the New York Times, findings from 2 independent teams of forensic linguists who claim they've identified Paul Ferber, a South African software developer who was one of the first to draw attention to the conspiracy theory. So if you listen to, I think it's Jake Hanrahan, has a podcast called Q Clearance or some shit like that, where he was the first person I heard narrow in on this Paul Ferber dude. And then there's another guy named Ron Watkins, who was an Arizona congressional candidate that they believe hijacked the QAnon blog from Paul Ferber. But based on the findings of these 2 research facilities, those are the 2 people that they've narrowed down as the pretty certain but possible.
So a dude that doesn't even live in the country, and the guy who could never even break into the political system.
I mean, it's a little bit deeper than that. I think both of them actually have some IT background, some software developer background, right? And if you follow any QAnon conspiracy theories, Q seems to be in the understanding, at least to the ability of LARPing like a government official. So they've got some knowledgeable background. But like I said, it is believed by people researching QAnon, not by people in the cult, that the original Q is not the Q who is currently operating the QAnon blog post, right? So yeah, no, it gets pretty deep. But these Swiss and French researchers have developed methodologies that have arrived them at the same conclusion. It looks like we may be getting closer to kind of taking some of the steam out of this QAnon movement. And that's exactly what their
it's like the digital version of hunting bin Laden.
That's exactly what their expectations and their hopes were, and trying to use these techniques to, I guess, narrow down on who could potentially be behind this movement.
Yeah, it's like the digital version of fucking bin Laden.
Finding bin Laden in the cave. Oh god, man, listen. The sooner we get rid of QAnon...
Ooh, can you imagine that episode of fucking South Park now? Like, they do the QAnon episode, and then they break down, and it turns out the QAnon guy is the same dude that was playing that in World of Warcraft.
Wow, that actually feels like it would be a South Park episode, though.
Trey, Matt, hit me up at Ziggy Starscream if you want more of these fire ideas.
Speaking of things that are bound to be South Park episodes at some point, Elon Musk is back in the news again with 2 very glaring tarnishes on his, benevolent genius reputation.
Okay, let me go down the checklist. Is he fucking people financially?
Potentially.
Is he doing some racist shit?
Apparently.
Is anybody dying?
Some monkeys.
Child labor?
Do monkeys count as child labor?
So animal cruelty.
Definitely some animal cruelty.
So we got some racism and some animal cruelty here.
A California state agency has recently sued Tesla over allegations that some black workers say the company has tolerated racial discrimination at an assembly plant, and adding claims that, several other lawsuits against the electric car maker have been made, right? So it seems like what they're saying is the factory is segregated to the point where all the black workers work in like an entirely different building and are often subjected to racial slurs and drawings of assignments that are the more physically demanding jobs. Tesla, however, did not respond or offer a comment to the
report
to Reuters, right? So this is all coming from a Reuters article. Workers.
I think it's Reuters.
It's Reuters.
Is it?
It's definitely Reuters.
God
We're not
damn
doing
it.
this again. Workers referred to the Tesla factory as the Tesla.
It's Matt Groening, everybody, not Matt Groening.
The Tesla factory as a slave ship or the plantation, and often referred to the production leads as whip crackers.
Oh my lord.
It's funny, but it's not funny.
It's not funny at all.
I, however, do find it tastefully ironic that the guy who went on, the internet and referred to himself as a real African American has a factory that segregates its workers. A guy from a country with apartheid. Let's not forget about that, guys. Elon
And he
Musk
was like 20 when that ended.
grew up during apartheid and claims he left South Africa because he couldn't handle apartheid, even though his parents owned an emerald mine that probably benefited from apartheid. So am I surprised? Absolutely.
Nope. Nope.
Azalea Banks tried to tell you guys, and nobody listened. Oh, God damn it. Nobody was listening to the monkeys over at the Neuralink testing facility.
Because you cannot hear the scream.
Because they've silenced them with the brain implants. Recently, an animal rights group brought up a lawsuit claiming that Elon Musk's Neuralink testing facility is subjecting its animal participants to extreme animal cruelty. So the animal rights group said that it obtained over 700 pages of documents, including veterinary records and neuroscopy reports, through public records requests in relation to like 23 monkeys owned by Neuralink, right? From 2017 to 2020, and drafted the complaint from there. Some of the complaints included monkeys who had like succumbed to psychosis and like chewed their own fingers off.
Yeah.
Monkeys. 2 of the monkeys had to be euthanized.
For being like what? Catatonic?
No, it was like one from like complications of like all kinds of like lacerations and ulcers from like throwing up and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it was gross. You can find the article on Business Insider. I believe the original report came through the New York Times. But either way, it's not looking good for Elon Musk, right?
AKA Lex Luthor. Who, by the way, in Young Justice, totally a white guy.
At this point, is definitely looking more like Lex Luthor and less like Tony Stark, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that Tony Stark wouldn't torture monkeys for the advancement of technology.
He
but
totally would.
He would also make sure that it was worth torturing the monkeys for the advancement of technology. Lex Luthor feels like the kind of villain that is like, I don't know, they're fucking monkeys, right? Why should I care?
He did that with people in Young Justice.
So, I don't know how you feel about Elon Musk, right? But it just looks like he's not, at this point, I don't feel too much differently about Elon Musk than I feel about Mark Zuckerberg, right?
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk is like the supervillain who will go on the monologue telling you his evil plan before he does it, but he will do it on Twitter.
Kind of like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like,
But he would do it on Facebook.
can you guys join my meta stream? I have something really important to tell you.
Please? Please clap.
that important news is that Tammy Williams, black female producer, right? Movie producer, media producer, recently became owner of one of, I think, the second largest movie production studio in Atlanta, just outside of Fayette County. She purchased, along with her partner, a $163 million film studio, right, that will consist of several different lots, wardrobe, housing, lighting department. So her film studio is second in size to Tyler Perry's film studio, and my laptop is freezing, or else I would tell you like how many actual like film lots and stuff it has on it. But I do know that she's also hoping to be able to attach like a film school to the production lot. So with that being said, I thought that was worth bringing up because it seems like she is also, from what I remember, one of the only women in the industry to own a production studio of that size.
You know what my reaction is?
And she's a black woman, so
that's dope. That's dope.
No, I do think it's dope because, and for many different reasons, right? Like Tyler Perry owning the largest production studio in the company, and now with this black woman owning, the second largest production studio in Atlanta, I think is dope for multiple reasons. One, because it's just, as I stated at the beginning of this segment, it's more black excellence. It's more black people, becoming owners and less, and not just participants in the system that we, all profit from and we all enjoy, right? But with that, placement, it now gives us more grounding to tell our stories and to, have the representation and the footing to be able to demand, equal treatment, right? So
because equality is dope.
I think that that's why I think that this story is worth mentioning, right? Because I don't know of any other female producers who own production studios and of this caliber offhand.
And you know what I want to say? Well, I mean, black excellence and black ownership in the system. That's breaking the system of normalcy. And that's a good thing.
Because
none of this,
where we're at,
none of this is normal. You can catch us at the Flood Pod on everything.
And that's on everything.
And if you need any Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flush Your Blood, you can check out tokennvg.com. Use the promo code Ziggy and you can get 10% off your order. Or if you happen to be there on a Thursday night, and I happen to be there, I haven't been the past 2 weeks, I am sorry, be playing Flesh and Blood. You'll be seeing me there as well. And I just want to remind you all to keep your death threats to 140 characters or less.
Don't forget to go check out Straight No Chase and Fucking I'm 40 after this, guys. And we will catch you all next week, same time, same place. Be safe.
And for any of you who have questions or want to give some input, email us, thefloodpod@gmail.com. Deuces!
Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Wait, why can't we talk about black stuff?